Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as Erik ten Hag's nightmare continues. We've got the latest on Martinez, Varane. Obviously there's news that Marcus Rashford might be back. We've got some transfer news on McAllister, Frimpong and all the fallout from last night, which I've got to say, waking up this morning, I'm still massively in shock about. I think it says season over on the thumbnail. Look, there's a lot of United fans saying that. I don't personally agree with that. I agree with Erik ten Hag that you have to have a squad. I think that this season was always going to go this way. We were just hoping it wouldn't, in the sense that we've played a ridiculous amount of games and picking up injuries in March, April, May was inevitable. It was always going to happen. The volume of them in the last few days is heartbreaking. You know, Rashford, Martinez and Varane. But we were also architects of our own downfall last night. I think that one of the things I do want to talk about is that the mentality in that team when you lose a couple of players is ridiculous. The difference between Varane in that back line and no Varane in that back line, there's no leadership, there's no organisation. We were very unlucky on a couple of the goals, but some of these players who talk a big game have got to start delivering now, because we haven't got Varane and Martinez. So it's all right sitting there and putting out your little comments through your agents and stuff like that. Now is the time to deliver. If you're good enough to play for Manchester United, you've got to bloody deliver. And the obvious answer is that a lot of people are worried because they don't think that they are good enough. Well, these players are now going to get game time. Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, McAllister, Scott McTominay. These players are going to be very important for us. Our season rests on them. So a little less conversation, a little bit more action, please. Because yesterday was just Liverpool away again. It was just Brentford and Brighton again. It was just crap. 2-0 up. I think Ten Hag makes massive mistakes in the subs, but ultimately it's Manchester United at Old Trafford, 2-0 up in a European night game, attacking the Stretford end. And it was terrible. It was an absolutely terrible second half. So lots to get into. We are a little bit early today, but remember Erik ten Hag has got a live press conference at 12:30, so it'll be very interesting to get those updates. Don't miss that. But the latest on Lisandro Martinez and the injury situation, and also Erik ten Hag explaining his substitutions. We'll get straight into that. We have got some transfer news from Fabrizio Romano about McAllister, also from Germany about Frimpong and Harry Kane from the Mirror. So there's lots to get into today. Smash a like, subscribe, get involved. The United Stand, the number one place for real, actual debate. We don't wrap it up. We hit it. And you know what? Let's talk about Martinez. So the Martinez injury, lots of people straight away after the game and late in the game were talking about Achilles. Oh, I've seen that before. He's ruptured his Achilles tendon, this, that and the other. I thought at the time he grabbed the front of his foot. And I said it at the time, metatarsal. Metatarsal is what David Beckham had years ago for the 2002 World Cup, and I think Rooney had it in 2006. It's an injury we don't really hear about. We got a real glut of them in the early noughties, and then we don't really hear about it anymore. And basically, a metatarsal is just a bone in your foot. If you feel your foot from the ankle on the top down to your toes, there's about 4 or 5 bones there, metatarsals. I think one of those is something's gone wrong on the front of his foot. This is good and bad news. Normally, you know, it's a bone in your foot. You use your foot to kick. You've got to let it heal properly. It can take 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6, not 46. But if he'd ruptured his Achilles tendon, he would be potentially out for months. So there is potentially a positive there. We will find out today. It was so innocuous. And what I mean by that is he's literally just done a body swerve and his foot's done something. I mean, if you can get injured like that, anybody can get injured at any time. It's just completely and utterly random. I do this 100 times a game movement and something's gone wrong. So with Martinez, I think that, you know, he's out and he's probably out for most of the season now. We might get him back in late May, mid-May. Hopefully we do, but I think he's going to be out for a while. One thing I would say is that he is he's the butcher, isn't he? So if there's any chance that he can get back soon, he will be back soon. But I think, obviously, it's a little bit like any injury. It doesn't matter how strong-willed you are mentally, you have to let your body heal. So, look, it's I can't believe it. I can't believe that one. And he's going to be a huge loss. And obviously Luke Shaw's out as well, so we can't do the left-sided centre-back thing that works quite well with Varane. With Varane, Ten Hag said that this is an issue he's had for the last couple of weeks. He mentioned it at half-time. It's an ankle injury. We'll have to wait and see. That sounds a little bit more positive. It sounds to me like it's a problem he's had for a couple of weeks. And he's played with it. They've had to rest him a little bit. Can he get through to the end of the season and have an operation? Does he need an operation now? Is it just a strain? I mean, the Martinez one I'm more concerned about, and I think that's going to be long term. The Varane one, we might have a chance that he might be okay for next week. On the other hand, he might have to have an operation, in which case he's out for the season. On the other hand, it could be an injury that keeps him out for a few weeks. So we'll have to keep an eye on what happens with Varane. But it's just ridiculously unlucky, isn't it? And, I don't think that... I think it has a huge impact on Manchester United's season. You go from Varane and Martinez to Lindelof and Maguire. I said this the other night. What's the difference between Varane and Martinez and Lindelof and Maguire? Varane and Martinez is French Riviera, lovely glass of wine, looking out on blue skies and a beautiful harbour, lovely music playing. Everyone's walking around in, designer clothes. It is the peak. I feel that Maguire and Lindelof, you're driving around an undesirable area in England. Everyone's in their front garden, listening to Three Lions with their vest on, supping on cans of Carling. It's just, it's a contrast. It doesn't mean that can't be good. I've been in many a front garden party drinking Carling, and it can be really good, but it ain't the quality of what you get with Martinez and Varane, and it's a drop off. You can say that's negative. You can see it as a positive. It's a drop off. It is a drop off. Is it a drop off enough that our season's over? No. Does it make it ridiculously hard to win the FA Cup now, the Europa League now, and get top four? Yeah, I think it does, because I think we're more vulnerable. Defensively, I think we're going to have to play differently. Defensively, we're not as good. Defensively, I don't think we're as progressive. I think Casemiro has to sit a lot deeper than he has done. I think we become more of a counter-attacking side, which is such a shame, because yesterday, I think we were, for the first 25 minutes, we're a really progressive possession-based side. Pace a bit for cheap, get a striker and a star centre-back, play a diamond with 6, Casemiro, Bruno, Eriksen, Sabitzer next season as Felix. Well, I don't know about that, we'll talk about that in a minute. But look, there was something, I suppose this sort of... what do you think about Ricky's comments, says Kira, that we'll be fine with Magaluf? Well, Ricky doesn't, Ricky has his own opinions, as we know. He never really seems to champion Martinez and Varane, and always seemed to be quite happy with Magaluf, Maguire and Lindelof. But I think there was two things that sort of caught me yesterday, and I'm not going to use my own words because it is a news show. So Peter Schmeichel said this about Harry Maguire. He's the club captain, so when you wear the armband, you expect some leadership as well, and he didn't give that today. Varane does that all the time. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think ex-players, you can take it or leave it. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. But I said that after the game yesterday. Look, I don't blame Harry Maguire for the own goal. I think he could have attacked the second goal better, and I think his positioning on this... I think he could have attacked the first goal better, and I think the second goal... If you watch both goals back... on both crosses that come in, we're just very static. We're not very well organised. Somebody should be organising the offside line. McAllister should never be in that position. Somebody should be shouting, "Get out!" I've played pub football. I've played bloody training on a Thursday night, and when you've got an organiser at the back, McAllister never ends up there because you're actually saying, "Get out, get out." Now, if you can see somebody saying, "Get out, get out," which means get out and keep the line, and then McAllister doesn't do it, fine. But I don't see that. And I think that's what Schmeichel's talking and everyone else is talking about. We're 2-0 up at half-time. It's 2-2 at the end of the game. Yes, we're unlucky, but we're inviting the pressure. There's no organisation and there's no atmosphere in that team in the second half. It was flat. It was really flat. There was no confidence. It was flat. The stadium sensed it. The players sensed it. When Bruno came off, it got worse. There's no organisation. There's no leadership. And I think, you know what? There's a guy who wants the armband on every time he comes on. He wants to lift the trophies. He tells us how good he is. You've got an opportunity there that you've been waiting for all season. Rafael Varane has gone off injured in a huge game at half-time. This is your moment. This is your moment to come on and prove everybody that you can do that job. And he didn't. He didn't prove that he's a leader. He didn't prove that he's good enough to do that job. I don't think he played dreadfully, but what an opportunity. How many people... these opportunities present themselves and they grab it. We should have been saying at the end of the game, I tell you what, we lost Varane, but Maguire came on and did really well. You can see him organising the back line. He's winning everything. He's organising the team. We go and win 3-0. We might be all right. Give Varane a bit of a rest. We didn't. We didn't do that. And I don't care whether you think Maguire's rubbish, whether you think he's brilliant. He is a bit divisive. But ultimately, There was no leadership in the second half, and that's his job. We've seen him come on for 2 minutes and take the armband off Bruno. We've seen him at half-time yesterday. There's got to be some bloody leadership on that pitch, and he doesn't do it. I think he's happier hiding behind an article in the Mirror saying how good he is, because he's got to deliver. And I tell you what, this is not a negative piece about Maguire or Lindelof or anybody else. We need them. They've got to step up. There is absolutely no positive if they keep playing like they did last night. We need these players to step up and deliver, because what we saw in the second half was mentality. It's mentality again. The same old players bottling it. And there's another example as well. I'm sorry, a lot of people applauded the Sevilla players for lifting Martinez off and taking him off the pitch. That's bullshit. I've played the game. That's fake friends. That's fake being nice. That is them taking a player off the pitch so they can get on with the game because it's 2-1. They've just got one goal and they want to go and get the second goal. That's nonsense. That's an absolute nonsense that was allowed to happen. And I'll tell you what, I don't need to go to Roy Keane. I don't think Bruno Fernandes lets that happen. You'd be saying, get off our player, leave him alone. He's injured. Put him down. Let the stretcher come on. None of this fake nonsense about you trying to take him off to help him off the pitch. He doesn't need to come off the pitch. We've got stretchers who can come off the pitch. Put him down, leave him alone. Where was any United player doing that? Because their heads had dropped. And I'm not just blaming Maguire for that. The whole team. Casemiro should have been stopping that. Sabitzer should have been... I think Spitz might have gone off at that point. Every United player should be stopping that. I thought that was symbolic of what went on in the second half with United's mentality. It was shambolic. You should never, ever let two players from another team pick up your injured player to take them off when it's 2-1. They're clearly doing it because they want to get the game on. In a worst case scenario, what if he had done his Achilles tendon or his knee? Picking him up like that could be making it worse. We should have been all over that. But you know why we weren't all over that? You watch the players, they've all got their hands on their heads, they're all putting, this is what I mean. Fundamentally, we need to be in that transfer market this summer because we've got too many weak mentality players. When the going gets rough, we down our toes and start crying. I mean, it doesn't even rhyme, but it's true. Do you think we're going to end up playing counter-attacking? I think we have to, David. I think we have to play counter-attacking. I don't think you can play anything other than counter-attacking football. I mean, look, statistically, our defensive line's been quite deep this season anyway, but it's certainly not going to move up anymore. I see Axel getting a new contract with the injuries and the thought of having to rely on Maguire and limited funds during the summer. I don't think Axel Twansebi gets a new contract, SK. I just can't see that. But yeah, there's no friends in competitive sport. Arrow, you've either played the game or you've not played the game. I'm telling you what, fair play to Sevilla, because if I saw the centre-back, the best centre-back of the opposition go down with 10 minutes to go, and we've just got one back, and there's a massive chance of getting another one back, I'm picking him up and taking him off the pitch as well. But I was massively disappointed. And look, you can put that on Maguire as the captain if you want to, but that just shows a lack of leadership. But everybody should have been stopping that. It shouldn't be. He's an injured player. That's a potentially season-ending injury. Nobody should be allowing him to be picked up and taken off the pitch. It was like something that happens on a bloody Sunday pub football match where you haven't got a stretcher or a bloody physio. He's injured. Leave him on the floor. The referee shouldn't have let it happen as well. And the referees are prat. Lamella, I mean, look, we forget the Anthony moment, but the referee is a complete and utter prat as well. How many times, I'm not making excuses because we were architects of our own downfall yesterday, but the referee yesterday, absolute prat. How Bruno suspended, I do not know. We had the Martinez handball, which wasn't a handball in the group stage, which was the reason we had to play 2 bloody extra games in the knockouts. We had the Harahu red card on Rashford in the new camp. And then last night, you get the Lamella red card. I mean, that's a red card every time you look at it. You can see him looking down at Casemiro's leg as he stamps on it. And also, he only gets a yellow card for a bloody leg breaker. Within a minute, he's booking Bruno for turning his back and getting hit on the back of his arm. And then Bruno misses the Thursday game. So, shocking. Some of the... I mean, I will say, I'm still shocked from yesterday because as much as there was a lot of bad things, it was a catalogue of bad luck as well. 2 own goals, both preventable if we're being honest. The red card that should have happened, the yellow card that shouldn't have happened that suspends Bruno, 2 centre-backs going off injured. I mean, let's just talk about that. Zon says that Maguire's finger pointing is the most cringe behaviour I've seen on a football pitch. He clearly wants to give the impression of him being the leader. Well, actions speak louder than words. It's a shame Casemiro was off last night because, I don't think he played as well because we lacked leadership, and the Bruno substitution just makes no sense to me. But Ten Hag did talk about the substitutions, which I think really is still the biggest point of issue. And look, it's really interesting because, you know what, we did our player ratings last night. I think they were roughly correct. I think only 3 players were below a 6, and that was Maguire with a 5, McAllister with a 5, and I think Sancho got a 5.5. But I looked at some player ratings, and I'm not going to shout people out, but I saw somebody gave De Gea a 5. They said distribution was dreadful, and he covered it up with a couple of Hollywood saves. Well, I think the save from the header into the bottom right-hand corner was more than a Hollywood save. It was bloody out of this world. It was world class. And whilst his distribution was a bit dodgy at times it was very good as well. So I saw Maguire get a better score than De Gea. I saw on this player ratings. I saw there was another one as well. McAllister got a better score than McAllister, Sancho, and Maguire got the same score as Anthony. I was like, I can't speak. I can't speak. But ultimately, let's go to the subs. Ten Hag spoke about the subs. Martial, he said, I can't play him for 90 minutes. I get that. Sancho, he didn't really explain at all. Bruno, he said it was because the referee had warned him about a yellow card. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Bruno Fernandes gets a second yellow card. He misses... What how many games do you miss for that? I don't know, but you don't take Bruno Fernandes off with half an hour to go when he's your captain. I don't agree with that, and I can't remember Bruno doing anything that was going to get him a second yellow card anyway. I didn't see anything like that. So if the referees come over to Ten Hag and said take him off or I'll send him off, I'd have said fuck off. What are you on about? You're talking out your arse, ref. Jog on. I didn't see Bruno on the edge of a second yellow card. And I think look, at the end of the day, I love Ten Hag, fantastic coach. There ain't no doubt about that. But he got it wrong yesterday. Everybody knows he got it wrong. They were talking about it online. They were talking about it in the studio. That he got it wrong. He got it wrong because I tell you what, Sancho wasn't great yesterday, according to some people, but Alanga was worse. Eriksen was way worse than Bruno, and Weghorst was worse than Martial. There was reasons to take Martial, I agree with that, but all 3 subs made us a lot worse. Therefore, they're bad subs. Whatever reason you've got to make them, and you can get the Norwich scarf out and start saying it's the Glazers' fault, but the reality is every sub we made yesterday made us worse. Varane for Maguire made us worse. Weghorst for Martial made us worse. Eriksen for Bruno made us worse. Alanga for Sancho made us worse. And I forget what the other sub was, actually. I can't remember what the other sub was. Pellistri came on for Anthony, and to be honest, made us worse. So every sub made us worse, and it played into Sevilla's hands, who still needed 2 own goals to score. I'm fairly sure Martinez was stood on this game or last game if it's a metatarsal injury. Don't know what that means, SK. Is Lindelof not starting because he basically said he wants to leave in the summer? Also, Maguire on for Varane gives the other team a mentality boost as Belfer. Well, I was talking to Ryan, who was at the game last night after the game, and he said, look, second half, when Varane came off and Maguire came on, there was just a different feel in the stadium. And that's not, he said, that's not Maguire's fault. It's not like people are booing him or anything like that. And the same thing happened with the subs. The crowd is so important, and we missed the trick. We used it in the first half an hour, and then we abused it for the final hour. The crowd at Old Trafford, like at other grounds, is like the 12th man, but they've got to believe. And when these subs are happening, you've got to give them reason to believe, and nobody stepped up. And effectively, like Renate says, we ended up parking the bus at home when we really should have gone and won it 3 or 4-0. But look, I think, is the season over before we talk about other things? Well, Erik Ten Hag said last night that Marcus Rashford might be back next week. I mean, I think this is great news because having Marcus Rashford back last night means that you can take Martial and you can bring Rashford on. And of course you want Marcus Rashford back. It's ridiculous to say that nobody wants Marcus Rashford back. I think it's ridiculous to say that we're a better team without Marcus Rashford in it. We desperately need Marcus Rashford back. I am a little bit concerned that next Thursday is only a week and a half since he went off injured, and that looks like a groin muscle problem. I don't know anybody who can recover in a week and a half. So what I don't want to see is Marcus Rashford rushed back, because Marcus Rashford should be resisting that. He won't because he wants to play. But the reason Rashford had a bad 2 years is because he played when he was injured. And I don't want to see that. So I really hope that he is back. But I do look at what he went off with and think, how can he be back in a week and a half fully fit? Because that's muscular. And unless he's got super muscles that can just recover in no time, maybe it's just a strain. Maybe that's all it is. But that seems ridiculously optimistic, as much as it is exciting. A lot of people were complaining that we should have left the sub in hand, but once we made the half-time sub, we only had 2 sub windows left to make 4, says Glennie. Exactly. I think I purposely haven't mentioned the fact that we were playing with 10 men, and thankfully we haven't seen many people talk about it. Welcome to the Members Club, Duke. I think there's plenty to be critical of last night, but I wouldn't be critical of the fact that we were stuck with 10 men. I think that, and I've not heard anybody talk about that. I just think that's a scenario where if you're moaning about that, you're missing the point. There's plenty to moan about. Like, there's plenty to moan about. And to be honest with you, if I was ranking the problems last night, the double injury to Martinez and Varane is completely bad luck. The substitutions by Ten Hag have to be a big factor because every one of those subs made us worse, and it just invited Sevilla back into the game. But the biggest blame for me is the lack of leadership and the lack of organisation and the lack of mentality on that pitch. We would have got absolutely battered by a better side. Like, I think Brighton would have picked us off. Aston Villa would have picked us off. Anybody who can score goals would have beat us 3-2 last night. The only reason it was 2-2 is because Sevilla aren't very good going forward and ultimately scored 2 very lucky own goals. But the way we played second half, we were only going to get beat. The mentality was wrong, the organisation was wrong, the tenacity, the passion, whatever you want to call it, that it was wrong. And I think Ten Hag was trying to change that, but he couldn't change it. And I think, he got the subs wrong. But if you're I love Ten Hag, so I'll say this. He got the subs wrong, but he had to make subs. Like, the team wasn't playing well for the 15 minutes before the half an hour to go subs. He had to make subs, but look at the bench. The bench really... I don't know, can I just add something that no one's ever spoken about? What's Fred done? What's happened to Fred? Like, why is Fred no longer a starter or even coming off the bench? What has Fred done? Because I was saying at the start of the season, 1 year left on his contract, let's let him go. He's actually played well, but since the international break, he's not started a game, and he doesn't even get used anymore. Is he refusing to sign a contract? I don't get it. Like, Fred would have been useful yesterday, because what we lacked yesterday, and look, Happy says, oh, come on. What I'm saying is, Happy, is that the subs didn't work, and I'm saying the subs aren't good enough. But actually, in a game like that, if you're going to take Bruno off, who's next to Casemiro, bring Fred on. Put Fred on, who will give you some fight, tenacity and passion, which is what the crowd needed. Somebody to get it up. Eriksen comes on, he's on his way back from injury. Weghorst comes on, people are just like, well, all he's going to do is run about. Alanga comes on, he's not offering anything. Maguire comes on, everyone's like, well, he's not Varane. The crowd, Palestri came on and did a little bit, but the crowd needed a lift. We needed the crowd up. A strong tackle, a good run. They failed, and you can moan about the subs by Ten Hag, and they weren't great, but I think the players on the pitch failed because they did what they did at Anfield again. They switched off, the heads dropped, and they couldn't motivate themselves. Again, lack of leadership. I'll tell you this, if we'd kept Bruno on the pitch, maybe he would have picked up a second yellow card. I doubt it, but if we'd kept Bruno on the pitch, we wouldn't have lost that game. And I know we didn't lose it, but we wouldn't have drawn that game. I think that was the substitution that did us, really. Hi, Mark. Would we have to bring Eric Bailly back or Phil Jones, says Daniel. Phil Jones ain't fit, so we're not bringing him back. Eric Bailly should be brought back. Eric Bailly should be brought back because we've only got 2 fit centre-backs. And look, what if Maguire or Lindelof get injured in the next game? But I agree with Manish. We capitulated on the pitch. I haven't individualised any performance yesterday because it reminds me of Liverpool again. It's just this mentality problem, the lack of leadership. And until we get... This is why the change of ownership is so important, because I'm pretty sure Ten Hag knows it, but I know it and you know it. There's players in that team that have to get kicked out. They've got to go. They are not good enough for Manchester United. And some of them showed it yesterday. They don't have the fight, talent, organisation, leadership or ability to deal with those types of games. It was like Villarreal in the Europa League final again. It's some of the same players bottling it on the big stage. They can't do it. They're like a rabbit in the headlights. It's just, I know both goals. I saw someone like yesterday saying you can't really blame the defence for either goal, but you can, because it's chaos. Watch the build-up to both goals. It's not organised. There isn't a strong defensive line. We're not playing offside. We're not marking up properly. It's just everyone for themselves. It's chaotic. And when it's chaotic, you end up with chaotic goals. Both those goals are luck. They are really unlucky for De Gea. He can't do anything about it. But they are chaotic goals caused by chaotic defending. There is I don't think either of those goals happen if you've got Martinez, Varane, Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka as the back four. But there's holes in that defence. It's all over the place. People pointing here, people jumping and missing there, people pushing people out the way here, people playing offside. It's chaotic. We invite the bad luck through chaotic defending. And that goes to the midfield as well. You defend as a team. I'm talking about wingers tracking back. I'm talking about the midfield. I'm talking about the back four. I'm talking about the whole team. It was defensive chaos. And that comes down to weak mentality. And that's what happened yesterday. Anyway, let's move away from that because Erik ten Hag is talking to the press at 12:30. We'll be live at about 1:45 with his reactions. Hopefully we'll get some positive updates. As I said, there's talk that Rashford could be back next Thursday. I mean, really, we need a centre-back. That's what we need. But the Varane and Martinez updates are more important to me because we do need Rashford back, but it's not like we haven't got Weghorst, Martial, Anthony, Sancho, but we haven't got any centre-backs. And we need Luke Shaw back as well. So there we go. On transfer news, a few things to bring you. And can I just say, I don't think the season's over. I think that's the line to go with. The season's over. It shouldn't be over. We've got an £80 million centre-back. We've got a £30 million centre-back. We've got an England left-back in Luke Shaw that's going to be back. Varane hopefully won't be out for too long. Casemiro's still there. Bruno's still there. He's only going to miss one game. You've still got good enough players to get top four. That's the baseline. The season's not over. We've got enough points and enough of a platform to get top four. Even with Maguire and Lindelof, we should still beat Forest on Sunday. So top four is still good. Season is not over. FA Cup, Brighton. I want us to win the FA Cup, so we shouldn't be giving up on that. Europa League, I think it's going to be very difficult because we're basically playing Sevilla in one game at their place with no Bruno, no Martinez and no Varane. And I think that is going to be very different. They're very, very difficult. But I think season over is a little bit too dramatic. It might be squeaky bum time in relation to it might be nervy in relation to top four. We're certainly not as strong as we were. And this season's been, we've not been a possession-based team this season. Our season's been based on defence and we're weak in defence now. So of course, we're overexposed now. But I still think we can almost go back to Solskjaer. If I was Ten Hag, I'd be getting out the Solskjaer tapes and going, how did he manage to win games with Maguire and Lindelof? Counter. Defend deep, counter-attack. Two midfielders in front of two centre-backs, counter-attack with pace. I think that's what we've got to do. Probably going to be hard to watch, like Hail Europa says. It probably is. But, at the end of May, do you want to be in the Champions League? Yes, we do. Yeah. Transfer news isn't going to help us now, but 3 updates. One from Germany saying that Frimpong's very interested in coming to Manchester United. 50 million euros has been mentioned as a fee from Leverkusen. I'm going to move on this very, very quickly. If we're buying Frimpong, why is Wan-Bissaka starting at right back last night? Because Dalot's signing a new contract, so he's not going anywhere. We're not going to have Dalot, Frimpong and Wan-Bissaka. So logically, if we're buying Frimpong, we're selling Wan-Bissaka. But Wan-Bissaka is starting ahead of Dalot. So I don't understand that. Now, interestingly, a few people have said you could play Dalot at left back. We could do. But Casemiro, Bruno, Varane, Sabitzer and Martinez are the only team players we have. Everyone else is playing an individual game, says Mahish. I still have faith, says Ray Carl Brown-Amore. Yeah, I just think, as I said, these players that talk a good game, who've been on the bench for most of the season, have got to start delivering now. Of course they have. Look, Frimpong looks like he's going to come to Manchester United. I don't know whether that fee's right or not, but it still begs the question, why is Wan-Bissaka starting at right back when we're going to keep Delo and we're very advanced with Frimpong? We'll have to wait and see. Bigger story yesterday was Alexi McAllister. Fabrizio Romano saying that Brighton expect him to move this summer. They're setting the price around £60 million. Manchester United, Liverpool and Chelsea have begun discussions to sign Alexi McAllister from Brighton. I'd welcome this player. I think many of you would. I think his agents come out and said there's a big chance that he'll be playing at a different Premier League club next season. I'd love Alexi McAllister at Manchester United. I really, really would. But if I'm being completely honest, we are facing a situation there where I don't think we'll sign him, because if Chelsea and Liverpool want him, they'll get him. And people say, oh, Liverpool won't get him. This is the Liverpool that got Nunez ahead of us last summer. This is the Liverpool that got Gakpo ahead of us in January. This is the Liverpool that went and bought Fabinho in a couple of hours. I know Liverpool fans have got a downer on themselves because they're not getting Bellingham, but they are infinitely better at us than transfers. Their negotiation team is better, their recruitment team is better, and Chelsea certainly is. So I don't want to be negative, because it's nice that we're being linked to Alexi McAllister, and I do really wanted him. But I think for two reasons, I think it's going to be very difficult. One, we're up against Liverpool and Chelsea, who are better at recruiting than us, and two, get my fingers light, two, of course, where's the money coming from? The priority is Harry Kane. Harry Kane will cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. Where's the 60 million for McAllister coming from? If the Glazers are still in charge, that money isn't there. You've got to generate it by selling. We take ages to sell. How can you buy McAllister when you're probably not going to have the money until August, but then Chelsea and Liverpool will have the money in June? So it's a positive that we're linked to him, and I really do like that type of player. We need that type of a player in our midfield that can play multiple positions well. But I think I'd be very surprised if we get him. Mojo says Bruno wasted too much of the ball yesterday. He needed to be subbed. Football's not for you, is it, Mojo? Really? Did you see what happened after Bruno came off? We fell apart. Yeah, football's not really for you. Try something else. Chess or something like that. And then there's a story in the Mirror tonight, this morning, which I feel is a bit slow sports news, really. I think this is a bit slow sports news. So basically, they're saying that Manchester United have got an open goal in relation to signing Harry Kane, because Harry Kane won't leave the Premier League because, he doesn't want to leave the Premier League because he wants to break the goal scoring record. Slow sports news there. It's almost like we're ahead of the game. We've played the game. I've played the game. We've said that. I've said it. You've said it. We've been on about this for months. It's an open goal for Manchester United for Harry Kane. Sometimes the mainstream are so slow, aren't they, at figuring? And then they put something out there and they think they've invented the wheel. Like, we've been on about this for months. Harry Kane will not leave the Premier League because he wants to break the Premier League goal scoring record by Shearer. He's therefore not going to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid because they're not in the Premier League. Within the Premier League, Arsenal won't sign him for obvious reasons. Man City won't sign him because they've got Haaland. Liverpool won't sign him because they've got loads of forwards, which leaves Manchester United, Chelsea and Newcastle. Well, I don't think he'll go to Newcastle because it's too much of a project and he's 30. Chelsea, I don't know. I think he'd do very well for Chelsea, but Chelsea aren't in the Champions League. Man United. It's an open goal. Harry Kane is an open goal for Manchester United. Apart from, you've got to buy him from Spurs. So what will happen with Harry Kane is he'll want to come to Manchester United because he wanted to go to Man City 2 years ago. He'll want to come to Man United. He won't put a transfer request in because he respects Spurs. So we will spend all summer negotiating with Spurs, who will sell us him on the last minute of the last day of the transfer window for £100 million. And he will come into the team after the September international break when we've played 4 or 5 games already, and he'll be adjusting in September, October and November. That's what's going to happen with Harry Kane. I don't want to sign Harry Kane. I've been quite clear about that. But he is a world-class striker. If we're signing Harry Kane, he's got to go on tour. He's got to be part of the season prep, because this season we weren't prepped and we lost to Brentford and Brighton. I think we play Phil Jones. He's not fit. What are people talking about Phil Jones for? We're better than this. We want to talk about proper football conversation. Phil Jones isn't fit. He doesn't train. He's not fit. Affiliation. The Kane, literally, I don't care that he wants to stay. It's all about price and how fast. If it's fair, then maybe, but still prefer Osman, says SK. Phil Jones is not fit. Stop talking about Phil Jones. He's not fit. He's not trained one training session under Eric Ten Hag. He's not fit. Eric Bailly being recalled from Marseille, I don't know whether you can do that. I don't think it will happen. But Phil Jones ain't fit. End of the day. That's the case. Simple as. Okay. Right. I think I've covered absolutely everything that I wanted to cover in relation to the morning show. But I suppose we'll see what Eric Ten Hag has got to say on the press conference at lunchtime. Hopefully it's not going to be too bad with Martinez, but I still think it could be a season ender, even if it's a muscle or a bone issue in his foot. Varane, fingers crossed. Hopefully he's going to get back. Luke Shaw, we desperately need back now because he can play left centre back. If we can get Luke Shaw back and Varane fit, you can play Shaw and Varane. That's what I would like to see. But there's a big if there. You could play Delo at left back, Luke Shaw left centre back, Varane and Wan-Bissaka, and I think that's the best we can do without Martinez. But there's a lot of it. We have to see what Ten Hag has got to say. If Varane's out for a long period of time and Martinez is out for the season, then like it or lump it, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof have got to deliver. No if, buts or maybes. They've got to step forward and deliver. I mean, is this not what they've been moaning about all season? Like, you're finally going to get a run of games at centre-back in massive games. Like, these are the games where you can be holding up the top 4 trophy or the FA Cup or the Europa League. All the work that Martinez and Varane have done to get us in this position, you can be the ones that benefit from it. Get your head on and deliver. We don't want any bloody propaganda or spin. Get out there and deliver because we've got nobody else. We've got nobody else. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Let's see what Ten Hag's got to say on the press conference. I'm just going to go for a run and think positive now for a couple of hours and hope that we get some positive updates because what we need is a miracle with Martinez and we need Varane's injury not to be that bad. Let's wait and see. Very short show, says Ivan. We've been live since 9:30, mates. 40 minutes is not a short show. Stop being a miserable shit and taking it out on the community. It's not the community's fault. Somebody said to me yesterday when that goal went in, that's your fault, you've jinxed it. Okay, so whatever superpower there is, whether it's Superman or your God or whatever, right? They're sat there last night. It's 2-0 to Manchester United. So this God of yours apparently is sat there watching the United stand watch along. Here's me saying that Sevilla don't look like they'll score and goes, I'll teach him. And Sevilla score an own goal. That's how that jinx works, does it? So whoever's in charge of everybody was watching the watch along and decided to make me look an idiot by Sevilla scoring. That's it. Okay. There's dogs dying of cancer that person could save, but they think they'll use their special power to jinx a goal. Wake up and smell the coffee. I actually had people saying it's Goldbridge's fault that they got a goal last night. Yeah, because that's exactly how life works. There's some superpower above watching the watch along going, nah, I don't think I'll solve world peace. I won't get rid of cancer. I'll actually just make a goal go in for Sevilla. It's crazy how some people's brains work. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Friday night show tonight at 8 o'clock as well. I could do with a drink. Let's hope that Ten Hag's press conference is positive, and I'll speak to you very soon. Take care. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.